Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast for January 31st, last day of January, and it's the NBA Every Game on the Board podcast with Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome into the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Drew. How about yourself today?
I'm doing good. Just got into Costa Rica, getting settled, and excited to hear about the NBA card. Get the listeners on some of these right sides. So what do you say we get after it?
You're in Costa Rica right now?
Santa Ana, Costa Rica, as we're speaking, Teddy.
Oh, man, I'm jealous. I thought I got an offer to go down there for Super Bowl, and I didn't take it. I turned it down, and boy, I regret it for about the day that I did it. So I hope you're having a good time down there, man. Sounds like fun.
Well, nothing as of yet, but hopefully this weekend we'll get into a little something and be fun. But
I'll ask you more about Costa Rica. How long are you down there for? You flying back after the game, or you sticking around for a couple days, or what's your story?
I got a little setup here, a little bed and breakfast, and I don't know. I was gonna stay for about 2 weeks or so.
You're gonna hang out down in CR for a while. I love it, man. Have fun. I wish I was down there with you. I really do. Although Vegas isn't a bad place to be for Super Bowl weekend. I can't deny that. You talked about, I got a 3-pack up in hoops for tonight. It's been a really good run throughout the month of January. What am I at? 60% since New Year's Eve across all sports. So it's been a solid run. I've been able to make the clients some money over the last month, and we'll see if we can keep it rolling again tonight.
Absolutely, man. You got 60% since New Year's Eve, all sports. So pretty good run here with Teddy Covers if you've been on them. And if you haven't, tonight might be a good night. We got the coupon code TCHALF. Gives you half off of his already reduced 3-pack up at sportsmemo.com. That includes NBA and college basketball, a game that we're going to talk about here. We got 6 games on the NBA slate. We're going to hit every one of them. Teddy, let's start off 569, 570. Indiana at Orlando, 210 the total. Looks like the Magic 2.5 or 3 home favorites, depending where you're shopping.
Well, I'll be honest. I took a shot with the Pacers last night. I thought the spot was right. I thought the quotes were right coming out of the Indiana locker room. Darren Collison talking about how, the veteran point guard on the Pacers talking about how this road trip, remember, they lost their first 2 games at home without Oladipo. No, one of them was at Memphis. They lost a game at Memphis, and the Grizzlies lost 10 in a row. And the guy came home and got annihilated by Golden State. And Collison was like, hey, we're going to go on this road trip. We're facing 4 lesser teams. It's a good chance to right the ship. And what happened? They came out and laid a complete egg right from the get-go against the Wizards. It was not a competitive performance throughout. So now you've got to really start worrying about this Pacers team without their superstar in the lineup. Nate McMillan, quote, low energy right now. We've kind of lost our way here, and we got to find it. Vic is not coming back. We have to move past that, not look at what we don't have and focus on what we do have. We have to get more energy in the game. So now they're playing on the second of back-to-backs. The team's lost their confidence. The coach doesn't feel like they're coming with energy. Tyreke Evans is out as well. He's someone who can fill in for Oladipo. He's been hurt. And, of course, they're playing on the second night of back-to-backs, and now they're on their first 3-game losing streak of the entire season after losing to Washington last night. So I can't make a case for Indiana tonight. That being said, you want to lay points to Orlando? Knock yourself out. The Magic have been dismal in this role. What have they lost? 4 in a row. They've lost 7 of their last 8. The quotes coming out of Orlando are even worse than the ones coming out of the Magic, because Orlando, Vujovic, what was it, about a week ago, he said, we have to go out. They too had a manageable stretch of schedule and said we have to go on a run right now if we're going to make the playoffs. And what happened? They lost 4 in a row during this span. And Vujovic, it's kind of the story of our season. We don't maintain what works for us for 48 minutes. It's very disappointing and very tough to deal with. A week ago, we were right there in the playoff chase, and now it's a much bigger hole that we've gotten ourselves into. If we were going out there and getting blown out by teams, we'd be like, all right, we don't have it. But it's really stuff we should be able to take care of, but we don't do it consistently. There has been so many games where we've had the lead and controlled the game and we let it slip, so it's frustrating. Yeah, betting the Magic has been really frustrating. They're in a lot of close games. They don't seal the deal on many of them. In fact, they've been in more close games in the last 5 minutes than any teams in the NBA. They have a losing record in those contests and a losing record as a favorite as well. We've seen some under money. I don't disagree with that. For either of these two squads, we're not seeing the pace getting pushed quite the way that it was.
Teddy, next game up, 4:05 Pacific tip, 571, 572. Dallas at Detroit, 206 the total. Looks like the Pistons 2.5 at home.
Yeah, these two teams played just last week, 106-101. Dallas with the win and the push against the spread. They were laying 5 in that contest. Tonight they're catching points, and boy, Dallas has been a real good underdog this season. I mean, they've been real good in a lot of roles. But you look at the Mavs, particularly, short favorites, short dogs. I've got them 11-2 ATS in games lined at 2.5 or less, which is in sharp contrast to a Pistons team that is 5-9 in those similar contests. So this has been Dallas's point spread range. Of course, the Mavs are on the second of back-to-backs, and we're talking about a team, off an easy win last night. They weren't tested in the Garden against the Knicks, winning that game by 24. Rick Carlisle was able to give his starters ample rest, but we're not talking about a team that's had a whole lot of road success this season, 5-20 straight up on the highway after last night's win, and they're in a point spread range where they don't win. They got to come pretty darn close in order to cover the number. The Pistons showed they could play with them last week, but boy, this is not a Detroit team that I'm particularly excited about these days. The last 2 home games, lose by 10 to the Bucks, lose by bucket to Sacramento at the end. They certainly, 4 losses in the last 5 ball games, different roles. Detroit, I mean, it's Blake Griffin and not that much. Even Andre Drummond is not the player that he was. And Ish Smith, a key component. You talk about second units and how well they function. Ish Smith, Pistons backup point guard, been good for them this season. He's been hurt the last 4 or 5 games, and boy, they've really shown it. That second unit has not played well. That doesn't necessarily bode well for their chances against a Mavs squad that has a pretty good second unit, and they're even on the second night of back-to-backs. They're in a situation where both the first and second unit aren't completely gassed like they would be had it been a difficult game last night.
Teddy, we got a 5:05 Pacific or 5:35 Pacific start here. Brooklyn at San Antonio, 225.5 the total. Actually, Teddy, I skipped one. 573, 570, 574. Don't want to throw you off. Milwaukee at Toronto, 232 the total. Raptors 3 or 2.5. That's what they're laying at home.
Oh yeah, I mean this is the early TNT game tonight, and this is a big game. Make no mistake about it. The Bucks haven't beaten the Raptors in a season series since 2013. They can do it with a win tonight. It's 2-1 so far, and these two teams are battling for first place in the Eastern Conference. The Bucks 36-13. They have a half-game lead over the Raptors, who are 37-15. The winner of this game will likely, the coach of the winning team in this game, will likely to be coaching the Eastern Conference All-Stars when all said and done, whether it's Nick Nurse or Mike Budenholzer. And of course, both coaches are talking up this game. Nurse, it's a big one. We need to see where we are against these guys again. We played very well the last time. We're highly motivated after a disappointing loss in San Antonio. We're highly motivated again. It should be a good test, a good barometer. Yeah, the Raptors are looking at this. They've had 3 days off since knocking off Dallas on Sunday to focus on this contest. And of course, they're getting healthier. It's the Toronto team. Talk about good benches. Their bench had some issues in December and into January. Now, OG Anunoby's back. We got Valsunius going to be back in the lineup soon. He's been back in full practices. Backup guard Norman Powell. We're finding our groove a little bit. Talking about that second unit. All that being said, the Bucks are an absolute one-way team for me. If I'm not, I understand Toronto's playing better. I understand that Toronto is, at home with this game circled. I will not bet against Milwaukee right now. This is the team they're bringing it every game. The depth is there. Giannis is, in my mind, he's the MVP this season. They continue to take care of business everywhere, every role. The Bucks have been good ATS. So even though maybe the spot says Toronto a little bit, and the money's come in on the Raptors now, 2.5s or 3, and the money's come in on the over as well, 230 up to 232 in a lot of spots. At 3, I'm only looking at the Bucks. It's Bucks or pass for this better.
And Teddy, you bring up the head coach for the Eastern Conference being decided in this matchup. Do you think that that's actually a motivation that you should use into your handicap?
No, it's just an interesting point about the game. The motivation is home court advantage in the playoffs. That's a bigger motivation, I think, than getting your coach to go coach the All-Star game. Frankly, if I'm a head coach, I probably want the days off. Okay, somebody else go do it. I'm going to go rest for a couple of days and get ready for the second half.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting handicap. Just didn't realize that was the case, and also if it would have any impact on the handicap. But we got 5-7-5, 5-7-6 up next. Brooklyn at San Antonio. This under just getting hit actually as we're speaking from 227.5 down to a lot of 226 out there now. So somebody just hit this on the under. 7.5 San Antonio laying at home.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit surprised by all the under money, but then again, this is the kind of game where we're expecting something from San Antonio. I don't know if you saw the quotes the other night after the Spurs escaped with a 2-point win over the Suns. Pop, not amused by that performance. Let me just pull that quote up real quick. Sorry, the computer's running a little slow. Quote, they outplayed us, outcoached us, out-physicaled us, out-executed us. We had no respect for them or for the game. We didn't play with each other. It was a pathetic performance, and Phoenix got robbed. Again, it was 126-124. Rudy Gay hit the jumper at the buzzer to win for San Antonio, but Pop not amused in that contest, to put it mildly. And in general, you get San Antonio off a game where Pop is making post-game quotes like that, they tend to be a bet-on contest. LaMarcus Aldridge quote, it wasn't our best game. We didn't execute well down the stretch, but we've lost some games that we should have won too. This is one that we kind of dodged a bullet and got a win. So in theory, it's a bet-on spot for San Antonio tonight. And certainly the markets are looking in that direction. But I am in no rush to bet against the Nets. The gift that keeps on giving. If you're betting on Brooklyn, I know they didn't cover as a favorite the other night against Chicago. But if you've been betting on the Nets as an underdog, as a road dog this season, you've done very, very well for yourself on a pretty consistent basis. They've struggled in the very big dog role, but catching single digits, this team's been money in the bank from day one. And they've been money winners on the road. They've been money winners of late. I like this Nets team. I call Milwaukee a one-way team for me. Brooklyn's been pretty much a one-way team for me, too. If I'm betting on games, I'm betting on Brooklyn. And you know what? I'm not betting on Brooklyn in this spot tonight. So it's a pass for this better.
Okay. Maybe looking towards the dog, though, huh, Teddy?
The Nets have been a value-laden team for more than a month. I'm seeing signs that that's not necessarily the case anymore, like the fact that they were laying 6.5 the other night and didn't cover. But in general, Brooklyn's been they've really been a team that the markets have undervalued on a pretty significant level for a month, 6 weeks. But streaks like that, you ride them, and eventually they come to an end. And we're starting to see that. This line opened 7.5, tells me that the Nets are starting to get the market respect that they weren't getting a month or two ago.
Good stuff, Teddy. You can follow Teddy on Twitter at Teddy_covers. You can follow me on Twitter at DrewMartinBets. Anything in the industry. Teddy coming to you from Las Vegas. Teddy, how's the weather in Las Vegas right now?
Yeah, we have this polar vortex is actually good for us. It's been in the 60s. It's been the nicest that it's been all winter in Vegas this past week or so. So my apologies to those of you listening out in the Midwest. I was there. I still remember when it was 20 below. That was the week. That was when I decided I was leaving Michigan to move to Vegas. Was a week where it was 20 below. I'm like, I'm never doing this again. That was winter of '98, and I was, I'm done with this. Maybe it was only 15 below, but it's nice here. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, it's scary times for some people. Stay safe out there, stay warm as much as you possibly can. We got 5-7-7, 5-7-8 up next, Teddy. Philadelphia at Golden State. Highest total on the cards. Seeing it 240 and a half at some shops. Also seeing a 239.5 out at Chris right now. Some opinion on this total. A high total, Teddy. 9.5 Warriors laying at home.
Yeah. This is the second half of the NBA on TNT doubleheader tonight, and I'll tell you what, fun game. You want to talk about a one-way team right now? Golden State with DeMarcus Cousins has pretty much annihilated everyone. They had the one game against Boston. They covered in that game where they were tested and challenged. Other than that, it's been comfortable win. I know the Wizards got in they only beat them by 8 in that contest, but Golden State's looked scary good. And I mean scary good over the course of the last few games with Cousins in the lineup. They're not a team I have any interest in betting against right now. And you look at the numbers; they're outscoring foes by 17 points a game. They're shooting 51% from the floor during this span, giving up 43, and they haven't even been draining threes. Dominating the glass, dominating the assist to turnover ratio. The bench is productive. There are no flaws for Golden State. The only flaw that you might find is that the point spreads tend to be a little bit high because this is the Philadelphia team that certainly came out and made a pretty good statement against the Lakers the other night. From the get-go after a no-show in Denver. We've seen them go on the road and hang tough. We've seen them go on the road and win. We've seen this Philly team. You want to talk about a squad that's showing signs. Sixers are showing signs they're going to be a very dangerous team we talk about the Celtics and the Raptors and the Bucks in the East. Philly has to be mentioned in that group, even though right now their stats don't show it or their record doesn't show it. This is a buy-side team. It's an upside team. And of course, you talk about this point spread range for the 76ers. Well, worth noting, 0-6 ATS as dogs of 5 points or more. They haven't been in this role a whole lot. In fact, they've only been a dog +7 or higher once all season. But the big dog role has not been where Philly has been able to cash tickets.
Teddy, good stuff. We got one game left. And guys, check out sportsmemo.com for Teddy's tremendous 3-pack up there. Tremendous trifecta, I think it's called. And we got it up there for already discounted price of $39, and you can get it for half off using the coupon code TCHALF at checkout. That's TCHALF at checkout for Teddy's 3-pack tonight at sportsmemo.com. Coupon code TCHALF at checkout. Teddy, last game up, 2 get-back games, so to speak, 10:35 Eastern tips here. The first one, Philadelphia, Golden State, we just talked about. The second one, the battle for L.A. L.A. Lakers, L.A. Clippers, 228 the total. Looks like the Clippers laying 5.5 as the home team.
I was tempted by I'll call them the road dog. I was tempted by the Lakers in this ballgame. I am. It's a Clips team that's coming off, a pretty ugly showing. And they do have extra time to rest. They came home after a successful road trip, and they laid an egg against the Hawks the other night. My clients and I were able to cash a ticket on Atlanta in that ball game. I didn't know we could catch it on the money line, but we did. And LA was not energetic in that contest, to put it mildly. So, in theory, it's supposed to be a bounce-back game for this Clippers squad that, as I mentioned, had won 3 in a row prior to that. But, of course, this hasn't been a great home court. Let's not forget. Already this month, the last 3 weeks they've lost in this Florida. The Pistons, the Pelicans, the Jazz, and the Warriors, and the Hawks. That's 5 of their last 6 home games. So it's not like Staples Center's been a great place for the Clips of late. But, coming off a no-show game in which they were flat as a pancake, you're certainly, playing your in-state, in-city rival. You're expecting a strong performance here from the Clips, but obviously the Lakers have struggled without LeBron. Pretty consistently, straight up and against the spread. But the bigger issue in my mind for LA in a lot of it is not LeBron. It's all the other guys who've been hurt. Kuzma is so key for that team when he's on the floor. He's missed the last couple of games. He's a question mark tonight. Josh Hart, another guy who can come in and light it up off the bench. Don't know if he's going to be able to suit up tonight. And that leaves LA a little bit shorthanded. I do like the spot for the Lakers every bit as much as I like it for the Clips. LA coming off that bad game against the Sixers, in which it looked like all the Anthony Davis trade talk legitimately affected some of the young guys on LA. They came out and they looked completely out of sync the first 8 minutes, 10 minutes against the Philly. And they had a big deficit right off the bat. They were turning the ball over. And you say, all right, well, Anthony Davis isn't getting traded today and all of this. But when you talk about the distraction, particularly for young guys, let's not forget how young this Lakers team is. You're talking about a young guy, and all of a sudden their names are bandied about. And, oh, by the way, sell your house and move to New Orleans in 2 days. That can be a distraction. I think it was a distraction against Philly the other night. And, now having lost, that the game where they had the Warriors beat and let it get away in the last couple of minutes, they haven't really rebounded from that particularly well. They've now lost 4 of their last 5. I do lean Lakers tonight, but lean is probably all it's going to be.
All right, Teddy. Hitting 62% in the NBA, 59% in college hoops last 3+ weeks, 60% all sports since New Year's Eve. And you can get his 3-pack tonight at sportsmemo.com with the coupon code TCHALF. That will take half off for you. Already discounted package, 3-pack in the NBA and college basketball. TCHALF at checkout will give you half off of that package. Thanks for the time, Teddy. Best of luck with your bets. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow with some college basketball betting podcast.